Why didn't God destroy Lucifer and the fallen angels? The mystery of the celestial rebellion. Welcome to Story H, where we dive into the deepest mysteries of existence and explore the great questions that have shaped human history. Today, we embark on a spiritual and philosophical journey to understand one of theology's greatest enigmas. Why didn't God destroy Lucifer and the fallen angels? The story of the celestial rebellion is one of the most fascinating narratives in religious thought. It speaks of pride and downfall, of freedom and justice, and most importantly, of God's immeasurable patience and humility. If God is all-powerful and perfect, why would he allow Lucifer to rebel? Why not simply annihilate the fallen angels and erase evil from existence? Prepare for a deep reflection on the nature of good and evil, free will, and the true essence of divine justice. The origin of pride. How Lucifer's rebellion began before becoming God's adversary. Lucifer was one of the most powerful angels in heaven. His name, meaning bearer of light, reflects the greatness and beauty with which he was created. He was no ordinary being, was an exalted cherub, a guardian of the divine throne, endowed with incomparable wisdom and splendor. However, something began to grow inside him: pride. Lucifer looked at himself and saw his glory, his privileged position, and his celestial power. Slowly, this pride transformed into envy and dissatisfaction. He no longer wanted to just serve God. He wanted to be like God. This burning desire for supremacy led him to sow doubts among the other angels. Why must we submit? Why should God be the only sovereign? Thus, the rebellion was born. A third of the angels was persuaded by his words, believing they could establish a separate kingdom where they would not have to obey divine laws. But this attempt to usurp the Creator's throne was the greatest mistake ever made in existence. The war in heaven and the expulsion of the fallen angels. The Bible and various religious traditions describe a great conflict in the heavens. A battle took place between the angels loyal to God, led by Michael, the warrior archangel, and the rebellious angels, commanded by Lucifer. The outcome was inevitable. Lucifer and his followers were defeated and cast out of heaven. Not because God lacked the power to destroy them instantly, but because divine justice demands that each being reaps the consequences of their choices. They were exiled from God's presence, condemned to wander through creation, bearing the weight of their own rebellion. But then comes the great question: why didn't God just destroy them? Why allow evil to continue existing? God's patience and free will. The answer lies in the very nature of God. He is not a tyrant, a cosmic dictator who imposes his will by force. God is love, justice, and humility. Free will. God doesn't create puppets. God created both angels and humans with free will. This means they have the ability to choose between good and evil. If God simply destroyed those who chose to turn away from him, then freedom would cease to exist. Had he destroyed Lucifer the moment he rebelled, the other angels might have thought maybe Lucifer was right, but God erased him to hide the truth. Doubt would have been planted. So God allowed Lucifer's choice to unfold so that all creatures could witness the consequences of pride and rebellion. 2. The timing of justice. God doesn't act on impulse, unlike the human view of immediate justice. God operates within a greater plan. His patience is not weakness. Rather, it is proof of his perfect wisdom. He allows evil to exist for a time so that its true nature may be revealed to all. The angels who remained loyal to God witnessed the results of Lucifer's choice. They saw that, apart from God, there is no glory, no harmony, only destruction and suffering. 3. The final triumph. God has already won. God didn't need to destroy Lucifer immediately because his fate was already sealed. He has no chance of victory because God has already determined his defeat. At the appointed time, Lucifer and his followers will face final judgment. Until then, they continue to exist as a testament to what happens when one chooses to turn away from God. God's humility versus Lucifer's pride. The contrast between Lucifer and God is astonishing. On one side, we have a created being who desired to exalt himself, using his intelligence and beauty for self-glorification. On the other, we have the Creator of all things, who, instead of crushing the rebellion with brute force, chose to act with patience, grace, and justice. God gave the greatest example of humility when he became man in Jesus Christ. Unlike Lucifer, who wanted to rise above all, Jesus descended to the level of humanity, lived among us, and even died to rescue those who were lost. While Lucifer chose pride, God chose sacrifice and love. This is the essence of the difference between good and evil. Evil seeks self-exaltation at the expense of others. Good sacrifices itself for the benefit of all. What can we learn from this story? The story of Lucifer and the fallen angels is not just a distant past event. It brings profound lessons for each of us. Pride leads to downfall. The pursuit of power without humility destroys those who give in to it. God values freedom. He does not force anyone to follow him, but makes the consequences of choices clear. God's patience is not weakness. He allows evil to exist for a time so that everyone may understand its true nature. True greatness lies in humility. While Lucifer sought self-exaltation, God demonstrated his greatest glory by humbling himself to save humanity. Final conclusion: Lucifer's fate and God's ultimate victory. God did not destroy Lucifer immediately because he wanted the universe to see the truth about pride and rebellion. Evil was allowed to exist, but it will not be eternal. One day, according to biblical prophecy, Lucifer and his followers will be judged, and evil will be completely eradicated. Until then, each of us has the chance to choose which side we will stand on. Will we follow the path of pride, rebellion, and self-glorification? Or will we choose humility, obedience, and God's love? This is the great battle that does not only take place in the heavens, but also within every human heart. Lucifer's fall was not just an isolated act. It shattered the harmony of heaven. It created a cosmic divide between absolute good and defiant rebellion. But the consequences didn't stop there. One-third of the angels fell by persuading one-third of the heavenly hosts. Revelation 124. Lucifer didn't just cause his own fall, he dragged down thousands of glorious beings with him. They left God's presence. They became evil spirits, now known as demons. Their nature was corrupted, and their mission to deceive, destroy, and oppose truth. They lost everything: light, purpose, identity, and now exist in eternal opposition to the Creator. Final reflection: the choice is still yours. Lucifer's story teaches us three crucial truths. Pride comes before the fall. God is just, but also merciful. Evil may seem strong for a time, but it has already been defeated. Lucifer chose to exalt himself, but true greatness lies in humbling oneself before the Creator. And you, will you follow the path of light or illusion, obedience or vanity, eternity with God or Lucifer's final fate? The war still echoes, but the victory already belongs to one. Choose the winning side.